welcome.
They started queuing at 6:30 this morning. At the front, tourists from America and Finland.
It's been really sort of festive, but at the same time you can feel that people feel it's a special moment and that they want to pay their respects.
I brought these flowers from Finland, and it's just such a unique event and so wonderful to be here.
From the doors opening at 9:30 this morning, the queue just got longer and longer. And at its busiest point, the wait was up to 4 hours in the cold. Several deep, the queue went along Peacock Lane, snaked down Lowsby Lane, along Guildhall Lane, past the back of the cathedral and right up to the top to Jubilee Square.
They want to be in the place where all this is happening, and some of them, of course, will want to prayerfully pay their respects. They come as tourists, they come as visitors, but some come as pilgrims.
Inside the cathedral, about 500 people an hour paid their respects. At the four corners of the coffin, an honour guard of veterans organised by the Royal British Legion. The pall over the coffin embroidered with medieval and modern characters from the Richard III story.
Today, just to see the coffin and that wonderful shroud is marvellous.
It's just been a wonderful experience, absolutely overwhelming. I didn't realise how emotional it would make us feel. It's beautiful.
It was really exciting, and my great-granddad's one of the guards that are guarding the King's coffin, so I'm really proud of him for that.
You can view the coffin of Richard III as he lies in repose at Leicester Cathedral until Wednesday lunchtime. Tomorrow, the cathedral will stay open until 9 at night. Victoria Hicks, BBC East Midlands Today, Leicester.
Well, the procession, of course, began on Sunday morning at the University of Leicester, where the public got their first chance to view the coffin containing King Richard's remains. A special service was held to mark his departure from the university. Richard's descendants were among the special guests who placed roses on the coffin before the cortege left, heading for Bosworth. Of course, Richard was the last English king to die in battle, his death at Bosworth ushering a new era, the Tudor dynasty, and which is why, I suppose, Bosworth remains to this day such an important and historic battlefield. Well, yesterday in bright sunshine, crowds gathered there in silence and some in tears for a special service. Helen Astle was there too.
It was a day that few people thought they'd ever see, the remains of King Richard III arriving back at Bosworth battlefield. Thousands of people stood in silence.
Lovely day, lovely service.
It was very moving. Seeing it in person. I didn't think I'd be quite so moved, but when the actual casket went past.
I think it's brilliant because I think sometimes people overlook some of the regions and think everything happens in London, and in history things didn't.
I'm honoured to be here. Not many granddaughters of people can say you get a chance to fire a gun in front of Richard III.
Still can't believe that they've found him in my lifetime, and I think it's just absolutely wonderful.
Fantastic to be here and to be asked to be part of it.
There was a short service before a 1-minute silence and then a 21-gun salute.
I was so proud to be able to be part of history. There's never any doubt that this gentleman, this king, died in battle, and he was the last English king to die in battle in this country.
People laid white roses and a beacon was lit before finally King Richard III left the battlefield for the last time. Helen Astle, BBC East Midlands Today, Leicestershire.
I think it was immediately after that ceremony that people really grasped the effect that this series of ceremonies were having on the people who'd come to witness it. And before and after that ceremony at Bosworth, the King's cortege had wound its way through the Leicestershire countryside to stop at a number of key locations in the county. And at villages around Bosworth, thousands of people had come really from all over to witness what was happening, and it was a day that would for long be remembered, as Paul Bradshaw reports.
A royal visit like no other. The funeral cortege of Richard III enters the Leicestershire village of Dadlington, burial place of hundreds of war dead from the Battle of Bosworth. A welcome return more than 500 years after his body was taken from the area in defeat.
I'm trembling. I said, I feel like I'm going to my daughter's wedding.
And it's worthwhile coming up all the way up from Brighton here today. It's been lovely.
The remains of the last king of the House of York then made their way to Market Bosworth, dignified, solemn, reverential. Crowds thronged the streets of this ancient market town to witness Richard Plantagenet's final journey and to accord the former king some long-awaited dignity.
His name has been rather destroyed, I think, in over history, and this is a way of rehabilitating him and perhaps coming to remember him.
A fantastic opportunity for a modern-day community to recognise the grandeur of a king.
White roses were thrown at the hearse as it continued on, a nod to Richard's Yorkist heritage, but also a gesture of humanity and condolence for this most controversial of kings. Paul Bradshaw, BBC East Midlands Today, Leicestershire.
Well, when back in 1485 Richard was taken from the battlefield to Leicester, those who might then have wished to mourn him were not able to do so, or if they did, they had to do it in secret. Yesterday, of course, the atmosphere was completely different. As the cortege approached Leicester itself, respectful crowds had gathered 8 deep in places. Well, Mel Coles now takes us through the final leg of the King's journey to the cathedral.
Bow Bridge. More than 500 years ago, King Richard rode over this on his way to battle. This time the route was lined with hundreds of people, including school children, aware that this was a momentous occasion.
Excited.
Yeah? Why is that?
Because it's a king that's been lost for centuries.
A short service was held at St Nicholas Church before the coffin was transferred to a horse-drawn carriage. And the crowds kept on growing as the procession travelled further towards the city centre, pausing at the clock tower. After a tour of the city, the cortege finally reached Leicester Cathedral.
And it was those amazing aerial shots that really showed the level of interest that there now is and that there was yesterday in this extraordinary historical event. So the cortege, as we saw there, wending its way through the centre of Leicester and arriving at the cathedral before entering for a formal service to greet the remains of King Richard III. It was a service of great solemnity and of reflection, to show really that the cathedral had now taken over the responsibility for King Richard III. Here he will lie in repose until his reburial on Thursday.